All right, welcome everybody. I wanted to try something a little bit differently today. And what made me think of it was I was watching one of Legend of Total War's videos very recently, and he said something that I felt like I could add something to the discussion to. So a couple of disclaimers right up front. This is the first time I've ever done a reacting to somebody else's video, and I'm not entirely sure what the etiquette of it is. I'm fairly sure that Legend, with his 521,000 subscribers, is probably not going to mind my tiny little channel making a comment about a video that he has dropped. However, if I am wrong about that and he might mind that, please let me know and call it to my attention, and I will certainly remove this video. But like I said, I think that he says something that I can add some value to the discussion. Now, a couple of other disclaimers right up front. First of all, I think that Legend of Total War is probably the best Total War player, certainly the one of anyone that I am familiar with, even though I play the game almost completely opposite of how he plays it, which is to say he plays vanilla and he uses game exploits, and I don't want to look like I'm passing any judgment. I think everybody should play the game the way that they want to, but that does not appeal to me. Those of you who are familiar with my channel know I don't usually play vanilla because I like using mods that make the game more immersive and more difficult. And then on top of that, I don't really ever use exploits because I think the game is a lot more fun if you've got some kind of a challenge, and I find it not so much of a challenge to just constantly be exploiting the AI. Anyway, all that's neither here nor there for purposes of this particular discussion. I just wanted to throw that out there, that I have the utmost respect for Legend. I've absolutely learned a ton about how to be a better Total War player from watching his videos through the years. Having said that, I'm going to play a couple of minutes of this video, and then I'm going to react to it. So not this entire video, but just a couple minutes of it. It is his video that dropped just a couple of days ago called Total War is Riddled with Player Traps. Now, I want to make it very clear up front, I'm not actually going to disagree with anything that he says, but rather I think I can add a little bit of additional commentary to what he says. And of course, link in the description to Legend's video. I would encourage you to check it out for yourself. And of course, give him a like, because it's really because of him that I got the idea to even make this video. So I want to give credit where credit is due. All right, so I guess that's probably enough of a disclaimer. Let's go ahead and jump in here to the part that I think is pertinent here. I think it's around 10:10, and I'm going to go ahead and play this video, like I said, just a couple minutes of it, and then I'm going to go ahead and jump into my own thoughts about it. So let's go ahead and give this a listen.
Overt example of it. Okay, now, in Total War Warhammer 3, the player trap that we're talking about here are walled city sieges. Now, if you've ever watched my live streams or seen me play like a really long disaster campaign, one thing that I'm pretty sure everyone can agree on is that I barely ever play a walled settlement defensive siege. I don't let them happen. So if an army besieges one of my walled cities, I almost always sally out to stop them. I don't wait for them to launch the assault, because it's a player trap. And I'll explain why. Because of the way that it's been very poorly designed, and I don't think they've realized exactly how badly designed it's been, but it's been like this way since day one. But basically it's a way that the sieges work in comparison to how the AI works, in comparison to how the auto-resolve works. The three work together to fuck the player, and it only applies to the player, it doesn't apply to the AI, right? So, when you have a settlement, right, and you build up its defenses and build up its garrison, the AI will either walk around the settlement and attack your minor settlements. How many times have you guys like built up a big defensive fort, right? And the AI has just gone around it and attacked like an undefended minor settlement, right? What they'll do is they'll only ever attack that settlement if they feel like their forces are going to be able to beat it in auto-resolve. Now the thing is, when they calculate the auto-resolve, they take into consideration an auto-resolve bonus that the defender is going to get, because the game says, oh, this guy has a wall defending the settlement, auto-resolve boost for it. But the problem is that the walls on the battlefield don't actually provide much value, especially when they're fucking smashed like this. And so this guy here has taken a defensive position, where they have been able to utilize overwhelming force to just grind him down. And the thing is...
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop him right there. So, again, just to be very clear, he's completely right. I do not disagree with anything that he said here. Walled city battles are a disaster in vanilla Warhammer. It's one of the reasons why in fact, it's maybe even the major reason why I very, very rarely play vanilla Warhammer. And I think it goes beyond just what he is saying here in terms of using the walled city battles defensively, but also I feel like when you are the attacker, I feel like walled city battles are not at all providing the challenging, extremely meaningful experience that they ought to. Realistically speaking, thematically speaking, taking a major walled city should be extremely challenging, and therefore it also should feel very rewarding when you accomplish it. And unfortunately, this game in vanilla does not accomplish that. So why is this important? Well, I think first thing I'm going to do, obviously, if you'd like to play the game in vanilla, or you'd like to play the game exactly the way that Legend proposes, nothing wrong with that, more power to you. But I feel like I'm speaking for a fairly significant number of people when I say some of us really like walled city battles. I will actually go ahead and say a really good walled city battle, whether I'm the attacker or the defender, is one of my absolute favorite things to experience in the Total War games. And it's a shame that vanilla Warhammer makes it, hard to really enjoy when there have been some previous Total War titles that actually did a much better job, for example. I'm not going to get into all that, but anyway, I do think that many of us really like the idea of being able to have a really good walled city battle. So, having said that, let me just go ahead and give you an example. And so, for those of you who are familiar with the Let's Plays that I've done on this channel, I would say you probably already know where I'm coming from. For those of you who don't, I'm going to give myself a little shameless plug here, because go out and watch some of my Let's Plays if you like this kind of thing, because we've got lots of it. I've probably had, about 8 or 10 different campaigns that I've done Let's Plays on this channel, and most of them end up having some of these really impressive walled city battles in the course of the campaign. So I'm going to use one that's the most recent example that popped up a little bit more than a week ago, which is an Emperor Karl Franz video or Emperor Karl Franz campaign that I've been doing. And we ended up in a situation here. I'm going to go ahead and blow this up a little bit. So we ended up in a situation where we are in Altdorf, and we are at war with Wulfric and with Scaling, as well as Festus and Kazrak, but they're not really on the screen right now. As you can see, we are surrounded here at Altdorf by 1, 2, 3, 4 armies of Wulfrics and a full stack of Scaling, and then there's another one that's just off to the right-hand side of the screen. We can't see it from this angle, but anyway, another Scaling full stack army is bearing down on. So we had 6 armies that were basically laying siege to Altdorf. We had a single army here of Emperor Karl Franz that was defending it. Now, I'm not going to play through this whole battle, obviously, but I want to give a very quick introduction to it. So, as you can see, Wulfric comes rolling in, and I'm going to go ahead and make it smaller here so that I can pause and highlight something. So, boom. You can see right here, he's got the multiple stacks. It ends up being 3 pretty much full stacks of World Walkers against our army of Emperor Karl Franz and our settlement garrison. Now you can see already it says close victory, which first thing that needs to be said is this kind of flies in the face of what he just mentioned about what happens in vanilla, which is that the AI would not make this attack. I agree that normally in vanilla you wouldn't see this type of a thing happen, but we are using an AI mod that changes the behavior of the AI enough that they will sometimes do things like this. Now, for those of you who would say, well, that's great, just go ahead and auto-resolve this. I don't know if I show it in this video, I can't remember, but if I did auto-resolve this, it would wipe out most of our forces. Even though this would be a close victory, it would do tons and tons of damage to us. And keeping in mind that there are more enemy armies all around us, they might have, we might have won this first battle, but we would almost certainly have lost subsequent ones. So we had every reason to fight the battle manually anyway. But beyond that, like I said, some of us, myself included here, really, really enjoy fighting the walled city battles. These are some of my favorite experiences in the game of Warhammer, like I mentioned. And so I definitely wanted to fight the battle manually anyway, just because it's a really, really good time. Some of us, that's the type of fun time that we're looking for. So. Okay, so I lied. It's only the one unit that was going to get wiped out. However, we would certainly have taken tons and tons of damage to our armies with the auto-resolve. That's what happens in a close victory. So I'm going to go ahead and jump forward a little bit here and show how it is also this is a difficult layout to defend because there aren't towers laid out very well. But we go ahead and jump into this battle. I go ahead and go through the commentary here. I'm not going to force you all to listen to it, but we set up our defenses. Why don't I just jump ahead a little bit here to the battle itself. So we've got obviously a massive, massive battle in our hands here where we've got lots and lots of units on the defense. He's got lots and lots of units on the attack, as well as more reinforcements that are going to be coming in. And see if I can kind of get to the beginning of the battle here. Takes a long time to set up these siege battles because you want to take the time. I also do in my Let's Plays, another shameless plug here, I add cinematic footage. I splice into the battles so you can get a little bit of the cinematic footage of what's going on mixed in with the actual, let's get back to the actual fighting of the battle itself. So here we are. So this gigantic battle, while this is going on here in the background, I just want to mention something. So another thing that Legend says, I don't think he says it in that video that I just played a clip from, but I know he's mentioned it in plenty of other battles. A lot of times it's counterproductive to actually defend the walls, and I don't disagree with him. The walls, as they exist in vanilla, provide minimal value in walled city battles. However, again, we overcome that with using certain mods. So that's why you're seeing right here exactly the kind of walled city battle that I find really enjoyable. I find it thematic and I find it realistic because realistically speaking, those walls are built for a reason, right? Those walls are built to help defend the people inside. And so it's such a shame when you look at in vanilla abandoning the walls right away because that's not the best way to actually defend your settlement. So again, we've changed that so that this is an extremely viable strategy to use on the battlefield to fight against a massive, massive group of attackers like we've done right here. So I'm going to go ahead and just show how this is a very, very long video here. It's an hour 47, most of it because this battle takes such a long time. This is also labeled here on the video as the first battle of Altdorf because we do, cut to the chase here, we do win that first battle, but he's going to attack us. Here comes scaling, and they immediately launch another battle. And so even though we won that first battle, as I mentioned earlier, we're now very vulnerable with the casualties that we took from the first siege battle, that they've gone ahead and launched a second battle. And look at this. They've got champions, they've got trolls, another really, really, really difficult battle to fight here. And if we would have all resolved that, we would have lost. Cut to the chase again, moving forward. Basically, in this one episode, the reason it's so long is because we fight two of these major, major city battles. Now, this is not all a shameless plug for, come watch this this Emperor Karl Franz campaign because of these siege battles. The point that I'm trying to make is that there is a way to take the experience that Warhammer provides us and augment it to give us something that the vanilla game does not provide. So in this case, for people who really like these really big walled city battles. And like I've said, they can be tons and tons of fun, and it's an experience that is actually denied to you in the vanilla game. There is a way, with just a couple of mods, that you can actually regain this experience and enjoy it for yourself. So, how would we do that? Enough of watching this particular battle. I will go ahead and cut to the chase, actually, or show the results of this for anybody interested. Jump ahead to the very ending of it here, and he's down to 183. End battle, as you can see, look how heavy our casualties were, but kill the enemy lord here, and there we go. We got ourselves probably what would have been called a Pyrrhic victory here. So lots and lots of fun. One of the most memorable experiences I've had in Warhammer Total War. And I think there's a lot of people who would enjoy this type of a battle as well. So let's talk about how to accomplish that. And again, I've got another video on the channel called Building a Better Warhammer 3 New and Improved Mod List. And I just want to show right here a couple of the mods that you would need. This is going to list more mods than what you need, so I'm just going to point out which ones you would need to experience that and give just a very brief explanation of why you would want those particular mods. What they do for the experience. So let's jump forward here. So garrison training, you don't necessarily need this. I like it because what it does is it adds skill or ranks to your garrisons over time. They just slowly gain experience, considering they're training in the background while the rest of the campaign is going on. And so the later in the game, your garrison units actually end up with higher ranks. Okay, there we go. Just tougher siege tweaks. Tougher siege tweaks is a big one. This provides some buffs to the defensive unit. So in addition to the garrison training, it makes all of the units in the garrison receive some buffs in battle when they are defending the settlement that they're the garrison for, which is things like leadership, slight boost to melee attack and melee defense, things like that. So it just makes them a little bit tougher in battle. So right there, you can already see the combination of those two things does improve the defenders a little bit. I didn't mention it in the video, but so you can see I added a little bit of text here. It also makes the towers, walls, and gates stronger and slows down the wall climbing. So all of these things are meaningful. They're not overpowered, but they're meaningful changes to give a slight advantage to the defenders. So it takes longer to knock down those towers. It takes longer to knock down the gates and the walls. And going up the ladders, this is one of the things that drives me and a lot of other people crazy. Going up the ladders in vanilla Warhammer is so non-punishing that it means that you can roll right up to a walled city if you're the attacker. You just walk right up to a walled city that has spent all that time building the walls up. You just roll right up. Don't even bother to lay siege. Don't even bother to build any siege towers or battering rams or anything like that. You just roll right up, and without any preparation at all, your infantry can just climb right up the walls, not really suffer any major setback at all, fight the enemy on the wall. Battle's barely any more difficult, if at all, any more difficult than a field battle would be. Personally, I find that unrealistic. I find it unrewarding as well. So, by slowing down the wall climbing, by making all of these things tougher, it really makes the defenses tougher to overcome in a walled city battle. So that's part of what we're talking about. That's not all of it yet. Okay. So here's the other one, Greater Garrisons by Zorbaz. And so what this does is this makes the garrisons themselves, the units in the garrisons, better and more of them. So what you find out is by the time you've built up a settlement to, let's say, the third level, particularly a major settlement, it actually is going to have enough of the garrison that it can provide at least some level of resistance. If you build the garrison buildings, then that even adds even more. And so what you'll find out is quite often by the time you're attacking even minor settlements that have the garrison building built in them, you're going to be looking at 15, 16, all the way up to 20 full units in the garrison to have to fight against. And the higher level those settlements are, I'm going to go ahead and pause it here at this point, the higher level those settlements are, the better those units are likely to be. And so overall, what this means is, number one, even if you don't have an army of your own there, a field army inside the settlement to help defend, the garrison itself can often do a pretty good job defending itself against attackers. Now, again, the more attackers that come, the less likely the garrison by itself will be, but that's the way it ought to be. You know, you need to reinforce what's in the garrison with an army to, you know, sort of augment the defenses if they're sending overwhelming numbers at you. But anyway, hopefully that all makes sense. Hopefully you get the idea. So those, again, are the mods that I would suggest. You've got the Greater Garrisons by Zorbaz. There's a couple of other flavors of garrison mods out there that do something very similar, which is to basically just add more and better units into the settlements to make them a little bit more meaningful as objectives in the strategic campaign. So that's a big part of it. Okay, and then there's one more that I want to mention in this video, or I'm sorry, that this video does not include, which is the AI mod. So going back to what Legend says here about the AI just going around your fortresses, as opposed to what we experienced here in terms of them attacking us at Altdorf, even though it told us close victory. You can accomplish this by using Hecleus's AI overhaul. So I will put a link in the description to all of those mods that I'm suggesting that you use to accomplish this, so you can try those out for yourself. But it's the Hecleus AI does a lot more than just this, but in particular, this is one thing relevant to siege battles that it does for you, is it will sometimes give them the instinct to go ahead and attack you, even if the auto resolve does not necessarily say that the battle is in their favor. So if you add the AI overhaul mod, you add the garrison buff mod, which is called the siege tweaks, and you add the Greater Garrisons mod or another mod like it that adds to the number of units that are defending, those three things alone, I think, will make a massive change in your siege battle experience. It will allow you to really experience siege battles the way that some of us love. On top of that, a little bit optional, but I would also recommend the Garrison Training mod, which one of my viewers, recommended to me, and I'm so glad that you did, because I do like the idea of later on in the mid-game and the end-game running into these garrisons that have had lots and lots of time to train, and so you're encountering them at high ranks, just like the AI armies would be. So anyway, hopefully that makes sense. Again, want to throw out all the credit for this discussion to Legend, but like I said, I thought that I could add a little bit of value to this discussion, and basically I approach this as looking at the limitations of what vanilla Warhammer gives us, which is already a very, very great game, but then how can we augment that experience and give us some of the things that is lacking in the vanilla game. And I think that this is a great example of what we can do. So again, hopefully that makes sense. Please feel free to have any discussion, add any discussion that you want to in the comments below. I do still read all of my comments. Thank Legend for starting this discussion with his video. And like I said before, if anybody thinks that he would not like my reacting to his video, let me know and I will be happy to take it down. If anybody else has any thoughts on ways to improve siege battles, I haven't gotten into anything like the pathfinding issues that there are. There are other problems with siege battles beyond what we've talked about, but they still can be a really rewarding experience, even with just the mods that I talked about. Okay, at this point, I'm probably in danger of rambling on a little bit too much, so hopefully you all get the idea. Feel free to leave any comments below, and I will go ahead and say thank you all for watching and listening, and I will see you in the next video.